the Wasaga Beach Historical Advisory Committee and the Town Archives welcome you as we present the first in our series that will explore our town's historic past. We hope you enjoy this bit of history and a good dose of nostalgia as we talk a little bit about the McLean family and their varied and many contributions to our town's heritage. We encourage you to relax, put your feet up, and partake in a cup of tea or coffee as we tell you the tale of the McLeans and the force of their entrepreneurial spirit which helped to form our town's identity. So where did it all begin? How did the town of Wasaga and our beautiful freshwater beach become such an important tourist destination, attracting thousands of tourists each year? It all started with a man named Hugh McLean. He was born in Scotland in 1812 in the Mull of Kintyre, and historical records have him emigrating to Canada sometime around 1830. Somehow he ended up in Erin Township, Ontario, where he met his wife, Margaret McKeag. Things must have gone well for the couple, as they eventually had 10 children and moved the growing family to Amaranth Township. Now, John McLean was their fourth child and second son, born in 1851. He is the one we are going to talk the most about today. John was 25 when he married Sarah Brownlee and settled in Shelburne, Ontario. It is thought that what might have lured the couple north was most probably the Ontario Free Grant and Homestead Act of 1868. Once arriving in Canada, many English, Irish, and Scottish immigrants chose to travel north to work their 200 acres of free land. It should be mentioned that with every move the family made over the years, they kept traveling farther and farther north, first from the Erin Township to Amaranth, and again from Amaranth to Shelburne. For some reason, they left the area in the 1890s and next moved to Muskoka and Huntsville to run several small hotels there. Maybe it was too rough and rustic, maybe too many bugs or black flies, but for whatever reason, they left Muskoka and traveled to Clarksburg to manage the Queen's Hotel for several years. Their next move was a significant one, and we're happy to say they made it to our area in 1905. Not to the beach, but to the Globe Hotel in Stayner. Now, something about Wasaga Beach must have intrigued them, and they finally moved here in 1911 to run the Ivandale Hotel, which was situated on the Nottawasaga River and was formerly an 1880s hunting lodge. Now, it was one day in 1911 they were, for whatever reason, driving along a stretch of beach, and they found a spot they particularly liked. Their adventurous spirits must have taken hold, and they bought that lot right on the beachfront. Just imagine the two of them trotting alongside the shore in their horse-driven buggy and looking up and down the beach, completely empty, nothing else visible for miles, and having the foresight to be able to purchase the land and then envision in their minds the building of a grand hotel. Who does that? Lucky for us, they did. Their first endeavor was the completion of the historic Capstan Inn in 1915, followed by the building of the Dardanella Dance Hall in 1918 by their two sons, Hugh and Alexander, or Sandy as he was known. The McLean family operated the Capstan until 1958, and the Dardanella was also sold in the 1950s. After the two McLean sons, Sandy and Hugh, left for greener pastures in Florida, one of the McLean grandsons, Red McLean, went on to acquire the Breakers in 1931 and then bought the Nottawa Inn in 1944 after selling the Breakers. Another son, Dan, and his wife Laura built and ran the Wasaga Inn until 1945. They also opened one of the first post offices here that was called Hector. Thank goodness, due to Dan's efforts, the name was eventually changed to the Wasaga Beach Post Office. The McLean family went on to open several other hotels in the area. And in the 1930s, they had 5 hotels and the dance hall. With the sale of the Nottawa Inn in 1960, which began life as a bowling alley and dance hall, and was the first truly licensed hotel on the beach, the family divested the last of their holdings here, and most of the family had left the area by the end of the 1950s. One of the family great-grandsons, John Adair McLean, wrote a piece in the Toronto Telegram in the 60s about the family dynasty and proclaimed it was great-grandmother Sarah Ann who was the dynamo behind all of these great enterprises. He added that his great-grandfather John was famous for sitting on the veranda and sipping a drink and watching the tourists go by. The magnitude of the McLean's family legacy to us is immeasurable. Think of all the labors of love that have gone into those buildings over the years. Think of the men in their white jackets and the ladies in their fancy dresses swaying to the sounds of the big bands. Think of all the brown paper bags hidden under all the tables in their hotels during the dry years in Wasaga Beach. Think of all the thousands of people who have danced on those wooden floors, slept in the beds, or eaten all the meals in the dining rooms that John and Sarah McLean built. When I think of the McLean family, it brings to mind an old but familiar film, Field of Dreams, with Kevin Costner. A farmer undertakes to build a baseball field in hopes that the 1918 Chicago White Sox players would appear. Years before the film's famous saying, "Build it and they will come," became a part of our cultural vernacular, the McLean family did just that. They built it, and boy, did they come. Please join us again for more interesting historical stories about our great town. You can find out more information on the McLean family by contacting the Historical Advisory Committee at wbhac2020@gmail.com.